Speaking of sickness, you've probably heard of chronic wasting disease in deer, but have you ever heard of epizootic hemorrhagic disease? EHD occurs in white-tailed deer and is mostly fatal for those that pick it up. And this year, Iowa is seeing its third worst outbreak of EHD ever. In fact, it's right here in our backyard. Southeastern Iowa has been hit the hardest this year, but it's not all bad news. Here to chat about this is Iowa DNR state deer biologist Jace Elliott. Jace, thanks so much for being back with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
I told Jace he's got to have like a punch card for being a frequent guest speaker here on The Current, but I wanted you to break this down for us. What even is EHD?
Good question. So EHD is a disease. It's a viral disease. It's transmitted by biting insects called midges from deer to deer. And it tends to affect deer during a certain time of year, and that is late summer and early fall.
Okay, and when you say midges, these can also be like no-see-ums. Is that another word for it?
It is, yep, just another word.
Okay, so what does it do to the deer once they're infected?
So once they come in contact with the disease, it tends to show signs within about 7 days, and then there's a very quick degeneration of health of the animals infected. It tends to make deer feverish. You may observe them with their tongue hanging out, salivating, a loss of fear of humans, just sort of strange behavior. And more often than not, these deer are found near water sources due to the fact that their internal organs are hemorrhaging blood, and that gives the impression of thirst for these deer.
Now, Jace did send over some photos of some deer that were dead that had EHD, but they're, I told Jace, I was like, I don't think I can show those on air, but you know, this
I tried to warn you.
You did. Well, the third worst outbreak in Iowa. I mean, what's the impact of this? Why do you think it's so bad this year?
So since we last spoke, Shelby, about EHD, this has since become the second most severe outbreak in Iowa's history. And I'll back up by saying that we've only had the disease known in the state since 2012. So there isn't a very long disease history there, but it is the second most severe outbreak that we've seen. We get reports from the public of deer that they find on their properties, and that's the way that we monitor the disease and how we determine if it's a severe year or not. Now, this disease can wipe through a herd on a local area or property and really be quite devastating to deer herds at a small scale. It can absolutely change the hunting experience for certain landowners in that year if they do have an outbreak occur on their property. But the silver lining to this disease is that it's really never had a population level impact on a county deer population that's lasted more than a year or two. Just because we have such a robust deer herd in Iowa, they're able to bounce back fairly quickly.
And there's more good news. I hear there's a weather phenomenon that could help in the fight against EHD.
Yes, that's right. So a killing frost will knock these insects back, and that stops the transmission of the disease. And we've certainly had that in Iowa, at least in most places in the state, to the point that I would expect disease activity has certainly ceased by now. But it did have sort of a late duration compared to most years, and that's part of why it was so severe.
So if landowners or hunters think they found corpses of EHD infected deer, you want them to contact you, right?
Absolutely. That's the only way that we're able to monitor the disease. There isn't exactly a wide-scale surveillance effort like there is with chronic wasting disease, for instance. Instead, we rely on landowners and hunters to provide that information to the DNR because it gives us a better idea of where the disease affected deer and to what degree.
Well, Jace, I can't thank you enough for your time today and your expertise. I just think this is fascinating and really important for people to know about.
Thank you, Shelby.
All right, we have been chatting with the Iowa DNR about epizootic hemorrhagic disease, which kills deer. Iowa is experiencing its second worst outbreak of EHD. That graphic is wrong there. It's gone up since I made that earlier today, especially in the southeastern part of the state. If you find evidence of EHD on your property, you are encouraged to contact the DNR or Jace Elliott, who we just spoke to, directly to improve disease monitoring efforts. We do have more information on how to contact them on our website, wqad.com.